Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me and welcome to week 7. Today we are going to learn about data fetching and user interface update strategies. Please write your full name in the chat so I can take attendance. Previ Make sure that you write down your name uh, right now because before recording, I will not have the logs. Thank you. So, a quick warm-up question. Let's think about when we like a post on Instagram, when we tap the heart button. What do you think? What do you think happens? Does the application wait for the server to confirm the action before showing the red heart, or does it update immediately? Any thought in the chat? Yes. Most of you noticed that the heart changes instantly, but sometimes if the internet connection is slow or fails, the like disappears afterward. In React, we usually use, I didn't mess up. Yes. So in React, we usually use the fetch function together with the async and await to communicate with APIs. The await keyword pauses the code until the promise finishes. When so Important thing to remember is fetch does not automatically throw an error for server problems like 404 or 500 errors. That's why we always check the response.ok ourselves. We also wrap the code in a try catch and finally block so we can handle errors safely and show a helpful message if something goes wrong. As you can see the code snippets, we declare an async function, the keyword async for asynchronous, and in that function we can use the await keyword, so which pauses the code until it resolves the promise. I didn't get the idea, Marquis David, for eventual consistency. You are talking about the heart button, which resolves immediately, or for data fetching. Yeah. Yes, 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 of course. It's for the user experience. We will see the benefit of optimistic UI, user interface. So how do we fetch data when the component first loads? Um, we will use effect. Notice the pattern in this example. We create an async function inside our use effect, and then we call it right away. So here we are calling the fetch to do's after declaring the function. Why can't we make the use effect callback async directly? Here, the reason is because the use effect expects the callback to either return nothing or return a cleanup function, but the async functions always return a promise, and that causes problems with how use effect works. So the correct pattern for using async function with use effect is to define an async function inside the effect after the curly braces, and then we call it right away our declaration. Okay, so when we fetch data, our user interface usually needs to handle three states: a loading state, an error state, and a success state. In this example, we use simple if statements to render different user interface depending on the current state. Um, what would happen if we didn't show a loading state, for example? Here, we we conditionally render the loading. If is to do is loading, we notice in the user interface the user will get a loading your to dos as a hint that the the work is in progress and we didn't get the promise and the data didn't receive it yet. So if we didn't show the loading state for the user, most probably the user will see a blank screen or an empty list for a moment, and that can feel confusing or broken application. Even a simple loading message helps the user understand that the application is working and data is on the way. This is very crucial for the user experience. That's why. So let's pessimistic updates versus optimistic updates. Pessimistic update waits for the server response before updating the user interface. This approach is slower, but it is very reliable and accurate. It is a good choice for important actions like payments and banking operation or any modification in our database, like creating a new user, submitting a form with very important fields that we need a feedback from the back end to show up. However, optimistic update works different. The user interface updates immediately because the server respond before before the server give us any response. The the application will feel very fast, smooth for the user, but we have some trade-off. If the server request fails, we need an extra code to undo or roll back the changes. So optimistic updates are great for actions like liking posts, checking tasks, or adding comments. Let's call them not crucial. This is our pessimistic and optimistic updates. Um, For the optimistic update pattern, let's go through the pattern step by step. First, we immediately update the user interface with temporary data. So the user sees the changes right away. And second, inside the try block, we send the request to the server. If the request succeeds, we replace the temporary data with the real data from the server. And if the request fails, we have the catch block will runs. We should roll back the user interface to its previous state and show an error message to the user because the interface has changed and the user must have an indication that tells him what is going on or why the things not get reverted. The goal is make the application feel instant while it's handling failures correctly. So our async function, the try catch block, and I think all good. This week, we are also improving the structure of our application. Our app.jsx will now act as the main coordinator for routing and authentication. It will check whether the user has a token. If the token exists, it will show the to-do page. If not, it will show the logon page. Also, we have the to-do page component that we manage the to-do state and API calls. The logon component will handle the user authentication. You refactor the whole app in this structure. It does more make sense. I will invite you, so we will try to trace the complete to-do together and see when the user clicks the, the check the checkbox, how we will code that. Before I switch to my code editor, I will try to give you, wait, where is, there it is. Okay. So if you have any question before I jump in and do some codes, explain you the why and the hows. Feel free to ask. Okay. Quickly, I go through the files. We were invited for the assignment. Okay.
Hi. So they wanted me to register. I am trying to register, but I'm not able to register. Like, I'll show you the screenshot of it.
Okay. Go ahead
One
and
sec.
let's see. So we were invited to register in the to-do list application in
Oh.
Versa app.
Yeah. So I'm not able
Okay.
to send the file because I guess there is a restriction in the Zoom for to send the file. That is what it says.
Yes.
Unable to send the file due to admin restriction. But basically, I tried to register and it says validation failed. And so I thought, okay, I'll try to log in, and it says invalid credentials. So I'm not sure how to proceed after this.
Okay. Basically, the to-do list application is very strict in registration.
Yeah.
And if the create account wasn't successful, it will not log in and the user isn't created in the database. So here the to-do list application and the create account, basically it is straightforward. Let's say the name is John. Okay. The email is john at Gmail, whatever email. You have to write down the email, the password. I, I s- I usually you have to write down a strong password, which is complex one that include alphabetics and numbers, special words, and be at least 8 or 10 characters. You can use, for example, the extension manager of the browser or whatever. I will try to, let's see if we can take a
So
note.
I tried to register how you're saying, but I got an error messaging saying registration is failed. Validation failure. So I have pasted the error message in the chat.
Okay. When you register, your password need to be 8 characters in length with a special character, uppercase character, and a digit. So basically, this is you are not including in the password the right elements. So you have to include 8 characters with a lower and upper character and a special one minimum. Okay. And if I proceed and I confirm I'm not a bot, registration will be straightforward. And here we go. So you have minimum 8 character with a lowercase, uppercase, and a special character and a number. Great. It doesn't you don't need actual real email address. This is for our development. So it's just keep a track and save it in a note, and that's it. I can save my John here. And for my to-do list, let's see my to-do list here. I refresh. Oh, I have to run my server again. So npm run dev. And here is, I have my email and password. I log in. Oh, ta-da. Well, the log on, we have, you worked on the log on. You should have an .env. You should create a .env with the right target, the URL we are working on. If you don't have this .env in your to-do list folder, it will return 500 error and you cannot log on. Let's try to modify the example and see if our app will log on. I get an error, post error 502, because I have to include my .env. So the login will be successful, and the Vite configuration we updated. So the header is from our refactor work, and the log on, I think you did it well, and we rework the application dot .jsx app.jsx. For now, let's see if we can trace our complete to-do, what we need to write here. So this is the code snippet, our complete to-do in synchronous way. The last step, we used complete to-do with an argument ID. We set to-do list and map this list with each to-do. Look for the ID. If the ID is equal the same ID, so we spread the to-do and the to-do object, and we switch the is completed to true. Else we return the to-do. This is our starting point. Let's make it asynchronous. So to make it asynchronous, first thing first, we will write down the async keyword, and we will look for the ID as an argument. Before we start anything, we have to store our original to-do state, because we will do it in optimistic update. So if any errors happens, the server fails or whatever, we need to bring or roll back the to-do to its original state. So we store our original original to do. So we go for the to-do list and the method find to find our to-do. Find will get an anonymous function with a to-do. So for the to-do ID, which equal to our ID argument, the one we are working on. So this we will save the original to-do where the to-do ID has the same ID. Okay? Well, and then what we will have, we will set it. Let's say it is not previous list, the current list. Let's say this current list, and we will map through it, and we check if the to-do ID is the same of the ID, we will update it. This is the optimistic way. So we call the set to-do list to update instantly the list. So the logic remains the same. However, we need to make a API call. So we will use try catch, and in the try we will declare our const response. Our response from the API we will await from the fetch. We are fetching for you have the URI, API, tasks, and I think here we will fetch the to do with its ID. So I need a string literal here so I can call the ID. Okay, so the fetch method will need the second some options here, an object, and in the object we have the method of patch, and we will have some headers. The headers is an object, and the content type will be an application JSON. And we will make an XCSRF token. We will pass the token for that. And we will need a body. For the body, we will use the JSON.stringify method, and we pass our object. Let's see. Here is our object. What we will need is the is completed. is completed to set to true. Okay. In the assignments, they they ask us to include the created ad. For me, it doesn't make sense because it is reserved for the back end, and we cannot um, send the created ad. It is a back end task. So uh, yes, absolutely, it will broke the application. I think it is outdated. Perhaps for the put, the instruction is tricky there. It will not work because it is reserved and there are strict validation in the backend, and the API will reject our request if we include the created ad. Okay? And we need the credentials to include them. So this is our response. You are welcome. No, I I don't know why they put this in the instruction, but it doesn't make sense for me. Maybe we will get any response from Roy. So here we have our response. And then after the fetch, this is our fetch, and we will check. As you know, we cannot have from the fetch method any errors about 404. So if response dot OK is not true, so we need to catch to throw a new error. Maybe let's say here response dot message if there is any message, or just a string failed to complete our to do. Okay. So this is our security check for the response. After that, we will we don't need any data from our patch. So at this point, we just need to handle the error. So if let's set the error and let's write some meaningful things. So error, oops, error, completing to do. And we pass our the name of the to do. Let's say original to do, or original to do dot title. So the user will know there was an error in this title, and whatever the error message is colon, and we pass error dot message. Okay. After that, we need to revert and set our to-do list. And the same way we were setting it for our new to do. So this is the same thing. Okay, we will pass the current list. Okay, and it is a function. Our current list, and we map over it. So to do, we will look for to do dot id is equal of our id we are working on. We pass the original to do that we saved. Else we pass the to do, and that's it. The same way we were updating the to do with our new, we we updated the is complete for optimistic rendering updates, and then we call the API and send it the complete, so patch, and we send it to the server. If anything went wrong, we will tell the user about the error, and here we need to in in our um, in our return, if error exists, we we write down the error as a paragraph tag. Here the assignment for the clear error button, and logic for loading to-dos. So basically our complete to-do is that's it. We put request, we patch. Well done. Maybe if there is any part of the assignment to go together on, because my mentor session come in hand, you you are supposed to work on the use effect, fetch to do, the logic here, or what? So I will save, and let's see if my uh, let's this to do complete to do. Okay, and if I check it, gone. Wait a minute, we have nothing in the console. Great. That's it for this week. It is very challenging, the fetch, the async function, and try uh, catch blocks. So we use the async await keywords to call the API. And for React, we use the use effect, conditional rendering, and we do some refactoring here. I hope you are doing well, and next week will be very tough stuff. See you next time. If anyone have any question, so great. Have a good night.